Good morning, members. We have a quorum, and it's the appointed time. I call to order the meeting of the panel on development. Welcome. Agenda item number 1, information paper issued since the last meeting. The Secretariat has not issued any papers since the last meeting. The next items for discussion at the next meeting. Please refer to LC paper number CB bracket 1480/24 bracket 01 list of outstanding items for discussion and LC paper number CB bracket 1480/2402 list of follow-up actions. The next meeting will be held on the 28th of May 2024, Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. The administration proposes to discuss the following 2 items. 1. South Lantau Eco-Recreation Corridor, and 2. Drainage improvement in Mong Kok, Wong Tai Sin, Kwun Tong, Kowloon City, Eastern District, Sha Tin, Sai Kung, and Tai Po. Do members agree to the set 2 items? I think that you all have no comment. Now we move on to the next item, that is adoption of advanced construction technologies. The paper number have been set out on the agenda. Would the relevant representatives of the government please enter the room? Members, if you would like to put questions, you can press the button now. Good morning. Welcome, government representatives. I would like to ask the Secretary to give opening remarks, and then they will give a presentation using PowerPoint slides. Ms. Lin, please. Thank you. Good morning. As this item relates to the construction sector, in the small hours this morning, there was a drainage cleansing works that involved incident that caused 2 fatalities. We are deeply saddened by the incident. There were 2 persons who were injured. We hope that they will recover very soon. The Director of Drainage Services just released a press release. Drainage Services Department, as the supervisor of the works project, will conduct investigation, and the Labor Department will also join in the investigation. As for the drainage cleansing works, it's already been paused, but to play safe, the department will stop all similar works on underground drainage cleansing to make sure that all contractors and the workers understand the work process. One of the directions of investigation is this. Workers should not be asked to enter the manholes when they want to train or clean the drainage. They just have to spray water from above ground. Why did the fatality happen? We have to look into that, and that's one of the direction of investigations. We would like to express our deep condolences, and we will help the family members of the deceased, and we will take follow-up action upon investigation. Now, coming back to this item that relates to the construction sector, to promote advanced construction technologies, including modular integrated construction, we have 2 goals. We need to cater to the need of capital works in Hong Kong. We have a shortage in manpower. We want to speed up our works, and we want to lower our costs. Adopting this kind of advanced construction technologies can meet our need and demand, and it also helps us improve the safety of the construction work that we have because the assembly is done off-site. Our third goal has to do with our industry and economic development. Because construction sector has always been one of the most important industries of Hong Kong, if we can adopt advanced construction technologies, we can collaborate with Guangdong provinces so that the advanced construction can become one of the advantage of the Greater Bay Area. Hong Kong can focus on research and development as well as selling of products overseas so that the modular integrated construction units can meet the needs of locally, the Greater Bay Area, and other countries. So there are these goals to the development of advanced construction technology. Now I will ask my colleagues to give a presentation on what measures we have to meet our two policy goals. Before the presentation, my members and I were made aware of the serious construction incident in the small hours that resulted in 2 fatalities. We are deeply saddened by the incident, and we urge the relevant department to work on the follow-up and investigation, and we have to prevent similar tragedies from happening again. Construction incidents resulting in fatality are due to various reasons, including working in closed area and falling from height, as well as objects falling from height, hitting someone. We have clear guidelines to ensure safety, but why do these incidents still happen? I have to stress again that we have to cultivate a safety culture in this sector. Be it the investors, contractor, and workers, they have to meet all the safety requirements so that we don't have another tragedy again. I also would like to call upon the workers to stop and think before they start their work. They have to see if they are safely equipped. So now we move on to the presentation of the adoption of advanced construction technologies. Good morning, Chairman. Now I will brief members on the strategies and initiatives rolled out by the government to promote adoption of advanced construction technologies, particularly MIC, in the construction industry. As mentioned by the Secretary, the construction sector is faced with a number of challenges, including the aging of workers, construction site safety, and so on. So in 2018, the Development Bureau adopted Construction 2.0, advocating measures on innovation, professionalism, and revitalization to promote the adoption of advanced construction technologies. To meet challenges, the Development Bureau rolled out various measures, including construction digitalization, applied research and development, MIC, and high productivity construction. On digitalization of construction industry, we are driving it, and we have established an interdepartmental task force to drive the application of digital technology in public works projects. For MIC is one of the high productivity construction. It transfers the conventional on-site construction process to factories to lower the manpower need and enhance construction site safety. We have established this cross-departmental steering committee on high productivity construction to approve MIC projects and remove barriers for the sector. In 2023 policy address to further promote MIC, we have established a set of measures to strengthen MIC supply chain. Through MIC manufacturer certification scheme, we want to achieve synergy with GBA supply chain, and we want to encourage the private sector to adopt MIC to reduce the manpower demand. In the budget this year, we announced that we should develop MIC as one of the industries in the Greater Bay Area that enjoy clear advantages, and examine the feasibility of investing in MIC supply chain. We've set 7 short-term measures. Now I will go through them very briefly. First, we will promulgate periodically the annual overall demand. We will announce annual overall MIC demand every year to outline the upcoming MIC projects anticipated in the coming 5 years for the industry's reference to help the industry in making advanced investment. Second, we adopt direct procurement of models to lower the risk of manufacturers. We will directly procure MIC models from manufacturers to enhance cost effectiveness of projects. The Architectural Services Department identified the second batch of light public housing as pilot projects to invite tenders directly for procurement of MIC modules, and we will also consider implementing MIC models in other works projects such as schools and staff quarters. Third, implement a manufacturer certification scheme. We have engaged the Hong Kong Quality Assurance Agency to develop MIC manufacturer certification scheme to encourage MIC manufacturers to adopt quality management practices and offer quality assurance during the manufacturing and delivery process. Fourth, we will promote wider adoption of MIC. We have rolled out a number of measures, for example, relaxing the MIC height restriction, and through the CITF, Construction Innovation and Technology Fund, we have set up the Modular Integrated Construction Dedicated Section to provide technical support to the industry, strengthen communication and collaboration with various departments, and facilitate project approvals. Fifth, promote collaboration with the mainland. We are proactively carrying out exchanges and collaboration with the Guangdong Provisional Government to strengthen mutual cooperation in the areas of implementation and regulations, formulate conducive strategies for MIC supply chain to establish a comprehensive ecosystem for the industry. In March this year, we have signed a letter of intent with the Department of Housing and Urban Rural Development of Guangdong Province. And in January this year, we attended MIC Chain Conference in Huizhou. Sixth, we need to facilitate cross-boundary clearance of modules. We will provide information and guidelines to enable the sector to have better understanding on taxation and cross-boundary delivery of MIC modules. The next short-term measure is to further encourage technological innovation. We will review the CITF funding framework and examine the funding scope of consultants and contractors of MIC projects to further encourage them to innovate in MIC technologies. Lastly, strengthen training. We will assess the local resources related to MIC, including professionals, construction workers, and equipment, to timely arrange necessary actions. We want to develop appropriate training program in driving the professionalization of MIC to uplift the professional standards and efficiency of the industry.
On long-term measures, there are a total of 4 measures. 1, to assess the development of the ecosystem periodically. We will regularly assess the latest development of MIC and the situation of the related resources. That includes the demand for MIC modules, production capacity of the MIC manufacturing base in the GBA. Second, we will also examine the feasibility of investing in the supply chain. We will work with universities, and we expect to finish it this year. That includes investment in MIC supply chain and the overall benefits that can be brought to the economy. We will establish a list of approved MIC suppliers for public works. After the implementation of MIC Manufacturer Certification Scheme MCS, we'll establish a list of MIC suppliers under the lists of public works contractors to streamline the MIC module procurement process of public works and ensure the quality standards for modules. The last measure is the reservation of land for the development of the MIC industry. We will set aside 15 hectares of land in the northern metropolis and explore further land development in Long Kui Town reclamation, mainly for the testing and certifications, technical research and developments, production and storage of MIC. This will facilitate the national Belt and Road development and develop MIC as one of the industry in the Hong Kong area that enjoys clear advantages. We believe this will drive the development of the MIC industry in the GBA. In 2024-25 budget, the administration said that it would set up the Building Testing and Research Institute. It would promote wider adoption of innovative technologies across the industry. We are laying the groundwork for the Research Institute. It is expected that it will come on stream this year. We will develop standards, build the GBA standards brand, and attract research and development talents to come to Hong Kong for further development. We will also foster interconnectivity and integrated development of the GBA so that we will develop Hong Kong into a region with the most advanced construction technologies. This is my introduction. Thank you, Chairman. I have to declare well, just now you mentioned MCS. You have commissioned Hong Kong QAA to work on it. I used to be a chairman, but there is no pecuniary interest between me and Hong Kong QAA. Including me, a total of 7 members have pressed a button to request to speak. They are in order: Mr. Stanley Ng, Lau Kwok Fan, Andrew Lam, Perry Yu, Chang Han Pan, Frankie Yik, and myself. 5 minutes, question and answer included. Mr. Stanley Ng, please. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to send my condolences to the fatalities in the Sha Tin industrial accident. The Occupational Safety Council and the CIC will render assistance as far as possible to the persons affected. I'd like to ask questions on 3 fronts. 1. On the use of MIC, I'd like to know about the costs and construction materials. According to the research, there will be a decrease in costs and construction materials used. But in the paper, I didn't see any information about the reduction in manpower or any data about it. If fewer people can be involved, how will it affect their livelihood? Or how will their work be affected? Will there be any training to help them transition from the traditional method to the new method we are talking about right now? Now, about 70 public and private projects are using MIC. According to the assessment of the government, is this figure large or is it a small figure? Are these projects residential, schools, or public facilities, offices? Do all these infrastructures or buildings also use the MIC method? Do you have any figures at hand? 3. Now we have the resources to sponsor the operation or the adoption of the technologies? How much has been approved? What is the total number of subsidies or allowances granted? Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, 3 questions. First of all, about the distribution of the 70 projects in total and how much we have approved to drive innovation. I will ask my colleague to take it. About the first question, in paragraph 11, the Hong Kong U has worked on 2 research projects. They find that the productivity of the construction site has increased by 100% to 400%. It means that there is a reduction in the demand for manpower. Now that there are more and more projects, there are about 30 projects or so. So we'd like our research to cover a wider range of projects. We'd like to know more about the impact on productivity as well as the time taken to complete the projects. But regarding the question asked by Mr. Stanley Ng, I'm not worried that the workers' livelihood will be affected. The construction industry needs a total of 40,000 or so manpower in the future. There's a quota of importation of labor that is 10,000. So why is the difference? This measure is to help us plug the gap of the shortage of manpower. Local workers will not lose their job, but of course we need to step up training so the workers will be well versed in the new technologies. Permanent Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, Mr. Stanley Ng mentioned a total of 70 MIC projects. 20 projects are government projects. 59 are public or non-governmental organization projects. 1 in the private sector, covering residential properties, hospitals, as well as quarters. In 2018, $1 billion was injected to the Construction Innovation Technology Fund. So we have a total of $2 billion. We have approved $1.1 billion or so. That is about half of the total amount. Some 3,000 projects have been approved, covering close to 1,200 enterprises, 60% of which are SMEs. In relation to MIC, $180 million have been approved. Next, Mr. Edward Lau. Thank you, Chairman. The topic is not quite on point. We are talking about advanced technologies, but it seems that the paper is mainly about the direction of MIC. It seems it's the focus. It's being more widely adopted in Hong Kong. It's getting more and more mature in Hong Kong as well. So the administration needs to adopt short, medium, and long-term measures. The Manufacturer Certification Scheme MCS was also mentioned in the paper. When more suppliers take part in the scheme, when there is more standardization and regulation on the MIC method, then the cost will decrease. In relation to the development of industries and central procurement, I have different views. Regarding centralized procurement, I support it in principle, but I'm kind of worried as well. The government has procurement procedures. Will the adoption of this method actually take longer, or will it drive up the cost? The government needs a team of manpower to keep a close watch on the market. That is, which supplier in the market is more suitable. That requires a team of manpower. So I suggest that the administration should centralize the procurement system for public works projects materials. I think this will be more effective. MIC is only part of the construction materials or modules, so I'd like to see an extension of the centralized procurement system that will bring more benefits. On the development of industries, I don't want to pour cold water on it, but I have reservation. The use of MIC allows us to save manpower and space. In the mainland, there are great advantages, but in the context of Hong Kong, wages are higher in Hong Kong. We have less space in Hong Kong. It seems that we do not have this competitive edge. Do we need to earmark some space for the transshipment of the materials from the mainland? This is viable in my opinion. So even if the administration needs to develop the industry, the administration should work on some 10% instead of 100%. The administration could just work on the core research. There are different pre-modulated modules involved in the MIC. Some of these modules are maturely developed. When the administration has invested in a certain factory, so will we use the materials from this factory for all public works projects? Will we still source the materials from other factories? Actually, this will spawn a lot of problems, and we need to think twice. Well, member has used up the 4 minutes. Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. In relation to centralized procurement, of course, we won't stop at the modules of MIC. Actually, the Development Bureau is taking stock of our cost control measures. Overall, if we can adopt centralized procurement, this will be one of our research directions. Next, about earmarking some sites in Hong Kong for MIC, we actually know very well as in the manufacturing base we don't have this competitive edge. We are short on land. If we need to work on research, ideally we need to have manufacture facilities, but they aren't the focus actually. Based on what we have got, the benefits of MIC are that they are real time. Things happen very fast. If the procedure is smooth enough, we don't need a lot of storage spaces. 15 hectares is not a large space of land. In relation to investment, there are many public works projects, and we need a significant quantity of materials to support these projects. So if we make investments, we will have the competitive edge, but we need to look into it first. We need to think long and hard about investments in the future. We'll continue to look into it, and we will give the committee an account. Thank you.
Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you. I support the overall direction of the government, but writing on Mr. Lau's comment, advanced construction technologies include much more than MIC. We have MIMEP and BIM. I want to see how the government promote advanced construction technologies. Let me first talk about how we should promote the industry. Because if we cannot do so, then for MIC, for example, there's not much room for the downward adjustment of cost. It is said that 50% of the construction of public housing is using MIC. But the regulations on using MIC in private sector is not comprehensive yet. If we can improve the regulations, then it would encourage the private sector to adopt MIC. Hong Kong is a small market after all. We need to promote MIC in other places. I wonder how the foreign market can adapt to MIC, because other markets may have different regulations on construction modules such as MIC. The cost of MIC units is quite high. It's not competitive at all. If we want to introduce such kind of a technology in developing markets, we have to step up testing and certification. So I'm glad to see that there's this Building Testing and Research Institute. I agree that we should work on testing and research of MIC. I think that the direction is right, but the government have to work on the details. For the Long Ku Tan project, it will take longer time because 5 to 6 years are needed for reclamation. The benefits brought about to the public housing market may not be as significant. I think that we have to clarify our policy before we can actually help our sector. That's my comment, Chairman. I hope that the administration can make reference to it. Secretary, regarding how we promote the industry to other markets, we cannot work on it on our own. That is why in March this year, we have signed a memorandum of understanding with Guangdong Province. We will have a factory on the mainland, and we, Hong Kong, will focus on the sale of MIC units, and we have to work with the Guangdong provisional government to achieve this. Next, Mr. Yu Pak Lan. 4 minutes, please. Thank you, Chairman. I don't think any member would be against the adoption of advanced construction technologies. Works projects are expensive and slow. We are having a manpower crunch. According to the Architectural Services Department, the tender price index has tripled. So we do really need to rely on advanced construction technologies, including MIC, to lower the construction cost and enhance efficiency. People hear about MIC when they hear about expediting construction of housing. I wonder what is the usage rate of MIC in the private sector. Is it necessarily the case that MIC will lower the cost and expedite construction process? Is that truly the case? You said that the MIC units will be constructed on the mainland, and you mentioned that you want to promote it as an industry. Is it really sustainable to develop MIC as an industry if it is just to meet the local demand? Secretary. About the efficiency and effectiveness of the adoption of MIC, I will defer to the Permanent Secretary. As to the usage rate of MIC in private developments, there aren't that many private developers using MIC. There are only 2 private housing projects that are using or is planning to use MIC. I know that the private developers have 2 concerns. First, MIC technology is rather new and they want to wait and see. That is why the government should take the lead to promote the usage, because we have a manpower crunch. For private developers, they want to be flexible in terms of their design. Even after construction has started, they may change the design and the size or mix of their flats. If they use MIC, then this will pose limitations because MIC needs prefabricated units, and that will pose restrictions on their design. Permanent Secretary. Thank you. We need to enhance productivity and construction site safety in the construction sector. There are 2 directions to take. First, digitalization. Second, advanced construction technologies. We want to constrain the construction of units in factory to improve the quality of materials and be more environmentally friendly. If the prefabricated units are constructed in the factory, that will not be affected by weather conditions. Since 2018, we introduced this advanced construction technology. The Hong Kong U conducted a study. We have an InnoCell in the Science Park, and in Pak Seng Kok, there's a quarter of the Architectural Services Department. A study has been conducted on these 2 projects using advanced construction technologies to construct. The result is much better than traditional construction method because all of the units were prefabricated in a factory. 30% of the time can be saved, and on-site manpower demand can be saved as well by 100 to 400%. The cost save is about 10% compared to traditional construction method. If we have more standardized design, we can further lower the cost. Thank you, Chairman. Next, Mr. Chan Han Ben. Thank you, Chairman. I support the promotion of MIC because MIC has its own advantage and it facilitates the construction of units with standardized design. I know that there will be a manufacturer certification scheme, and I think that this is very important. We need to have a set of standards and certification for MIC manufacturer. Can the department responsible for certification and testing review the materials that we use in Hong Kong so that we can have a register for materials? such that departments or contractors don't have to submit their materials for testing every time. Because construction A and B may be sharing the same kind of materials, but then they have to submit their materials for testing separately. If the department for testing can be established, I hope that they can create a list of recognized materials so that the recognized materials can be used in all construction sites in Hong Kong. That will help the entire construction sector. It is mentioned in the paper that land will be reserved for the development of MIC industry. As we don't have any factory in Hong Kong, it seems that we don't have an MIC industry. How will we be using the land for MIC development? Is the land reserved for storage of prefabricated units? Are we going to manufacture the units here? What is the government's view? Secretary. Thank you. Maybe I will take the first question, and I will ask the Permanent Secretary to answer the second question. As for the certification scheme, I would like to thank the member for helping us in engaging the Hong Kong QAA as to how we can centralize the testing of materials. I think that the Building Testing and Research Institutes to be established will assist, because currently contractors will have to submit their materials for testing with different institutes. With the Building Testing and Research Institute to be owned and run by the government, it will centralize the testing of materials. We hope that this Building Testing and Research Institute will help coordinate the testing of materials. The reason why we have this institute is because we see that in other countries and the mainland, they have a separate institute to conduct such kind of a work. And this kind of institute would usually be connected to the government, because the recognition would be enhanced when it's owned and run by the government. What about the land issue, Permanent Secretary? The land reserved will not only be for construction, but also research and development. We have to see how we can connect the units better together. Apart from this, we also have to conduct testing, so the land reserved may be used for testing and research. Also, we may have to display some of the samples to see the results. And when we have more samples, we need more land. We also will make use of the land reserved for storage, because the units will be manufactured in the Greater Bay Area and they will be shipped to Hong Kong. If needed, we may have to store the units somewhere, and we will make use of the land reserved to do that. As mentioned, we want to create a factory in Hong Kong for MIC units. Thank you.
咁啊，到下一位啦，易
Next member, Mr. Frankie Yik. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask the Secretary a couple of questions. In paragraph 5, you mentioned you would like to put the use of BIM technology as one of the contract provisions. Personally, I agree with this. I agree with the adoption of BIM technology. But are all the contractors ready? Or will it actually drive down the number of contractors that can meet the requirement. Just now, the Permanent Secretary also mentioned that this method can reduce the time by 30% to 50%, and the manpower can be reduced by 100% to 400%. But I don't think these figures are proportionate. I'd like to have figures to back it up. If you want the wider adoption of this technology among private sector, you need to convince them of the benefits. In paragraph 10, you also mention these advanced technologies have a lot of benefits, but the paper is silent on carbon emissions. I believe with the shortened construction period, that will definitely help reduce carbon emissions. What about green finance? That is really drive down the borrowing cost. This will also give the private sector more incentives. I hope you can think about them. As the MIC modules need to be transported, there are many restrictions as well. For example, you need to apply with the TD. You also need escort if the materials need to be transported in the small hours of the evening. So in the future, in Long Ku Town Reclamation Area, I hope you will take the route that is the shortest route to the construction site, that is from Long Ku Town to the construction site, instead of sending the modules straight from the Northern Metropolis to the construction site. That would be more troublesome, and the cost will also be higher. Secretary, thank you, member. Member mentioned carbon emissions and the transportation cost. We'll pay more attention to that. It will definitely help reduce carbon emissions. It's good to the environment. In relation to BIM technology, many public works projects need to use BIM. So we don't think there will be any stress on it. But when it comes to private projects, a couple of months ago, we issued a roadmap. We hope that up to 2029, all private projects will feature the use of BIM technology in the submission of their plans. We hope this time period will allow the private sector to lay the groundwork for the transition. The Development Bureau has a working group. For example, to check the width of the modules, we want to smooth the path. If there are guidelines, then it will help with the implementation of the project. Then myself, just now a member mentioned advanced construction technologies are not just about MIC. Yes, this is true. The adoption of BIM technology is also one of the other factors. Hong Kong also has other research and the adoption of some other technologies in the Jiangkwanu Cross-Bay Link. These are the adoption of advanced construction materials. Just now, the Permanent Secretary also spoke on the fund. That is the CITF, Construction Innovation and Technology Fund. 3,000 odd projects have been approved. Can you give us supplementary papers? That is to tell us which projects use advanced construction technologies. These will serve as objective evidence, objective proof showing the status of the use of advanced construction materials. Perhaps you can tell us information about the CITF first. Actually, the term MIC has been mentioned in recent years, but actually the idea behind it, the technology, has been used for a very long time. We often see different prefabricated modules being transported and used in the construction site. The flats are made up of different modules. So you can also see different vehicles, different trucks running on the road. There are also different skips. If we can prefabricate different modules, different steels, this will also help us save time. Land is another concern. Factories of prefabricated steels need to be removed. They are forced to be removed. So I hope the administration can help in this regard. In the paper today, it mentions the industrial park. Actually, Tuen Mun River Trade Terminal is a suitable site. When the MIC materials are transported from the mainland to Hong Kong, that terminal actually serves as a good middle point. Any brief response, Secretary? Regarding your suggestion about Tuen Mun River Trade Terminal, we are working on the replanning of Tuen Mun West and reclamation of Lung Ku Tan. So where exactly should we place the industrial park? We will have to look into it. We also take into account Tuen Mun West. Just now you mentioned sites for the high-strength steels. We want to have short-term measures. For specifics, we are still following up on them with the relevant industries. Next, Dr. Chow Man Kong, 4 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. MIC is one of the construction technologies. If we can reduce manpower as well as time, cost, that's indeed good. But I also see in the paper that the productivity has increased by 100% to 400%, but the cost has decreased by some 10%. Are you too conservative? Many MIC technologies are widely adopted in the public sector. There are not many private sector using MIC. Are there any concerns in the private sector? Have you looked into that? For example, from fossil fuel vehicles to electric vehicles, EV, like in Singapore, they help workers to transform. They work very hard on it. How can we help the industry and workers to go through transformation? On the supply chain, the administration can make investments in the mainland. Will the administration set up a company to work on it? Have you assessed the impact on the construction industry if the administration is to proceed with it? We should use MIC in public works projects, but apart from large-scale infrastructures, say the Northern Metropolis, it's actually not that easy when it comes to urban projects. In urban renewal projects, the streets are narrow, so traditional technologies are still important in view of this. MIC is but one of the technologies. But in the context of urban renewal, the streets are very narrow. Even vehicles can enter all streets. So how can you adopt this technology? Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. In relation to productivity and costs, another member mentioned they are not proportionate. I'll ask the Permanent Secretary to respond to this point. On how to help workers familiarize themselves with this technology, as we mentioned, we have short-term measures. We will work with CIC, Construction Industry Council, and other training bodies to do well in training. But overall, using advanced construction technologies will help with the well-being and the work environment for workers. On the supply chain, we are still carrying out internal research. We are thinking about investments. I mean pecuniary investments. We need to have preliminary findings before we can share with members. We don't implement the adoption of MIC across the board. For narrow spaces or for areas that are not large enough, there are restrictions. That is how to overcome the obstacles, how to remove the restrictions. Probably other technologies will still come in handy. Permanent Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Some members are concerned about this point. I'd like to spend more time on it. The Hong Kong U has been commissioned to work on 2 studies. It shows the competitive edge after the adoption of MIC. Productivity has increased by 100% to 400%. There's a reduction in manpower needed. Staff on costs only account for some 30% to 40% of the entire project costs, although there are variations from one project to another. Are there enough mainland factories? That also affects cost effectiveness. We are still in a discussion with the Hong Kong U on further studies. At present, 20 to 30 projects with the use of MIC have been completed. We need more statistics to gauge the impact. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. So with more data, you will be able to look into different areas. For example, the entire supply chain, and so on. We are glad to see this report. We look forward to the report. Thank you. 2 members have pressed the button to request to speak, Dr. Wendy Hong and Mr. Louis Long, followed by Mr. Edward Lau in the second round. Then we will wrap up this item. There's another agenda item coming next. Dr. Wendy Hong, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The administration has shared with us the advantage of adopting MIC. But I hope that the administration can explain to us about the disadvantage and weakness of MIC. For the transitional housing in Campton Yuen Long and the To Ko Wan, there is a water leakage problems with MIC prefabricated units. I wonder if the issues are with the prefabricated units or the construction process. Do the contractors provide after sale service to maintain and repair these units, or does the administration have to shoulder the cost? Also, there's limitations to the adoption of MIC. It only applies to the large-scale usage of standardized design. For private developments, usually they adopt design with character, and they don't use standardized design. If you use MIC in this case, then the cost will be even more expensive than traditional construction method. And if you use MIC, is it more difficult for people to turn 2 rooms into 1 room and to tear down some of the walls? Also, there is a need for storage of prefabricated units. Will the government roll out a guidelines on what kind of projects can apply MIC? If it's not efficient, then it will be even more expensive. What about the reuse of prefabricated units? Just now, the government said that the prefabricated units in Lam Cheng was reused in other places. But the Lam Cheng case was very special because the units in Nam Cheng was not used and they were vacant for 2 years. So the units there were not really used. What if the housing was actually resided by someone else? And how do you clean the drainage, the sewage, the toilets, the sink? I have consulted some of the experts and they told me that sometimes it's even more expensive to reuse the models than building new ones. Secretary, let me talk about the disadvantage of MIC, and then I will ask the Permanent Secretary to talk about the guidelines. For weakness of MIC, first, about the flexibility of design. That's an objective reality. As I've mentioned, the reason why not a lot of private developers make use of MIC, that's because it's impossible for the developers to change the design of the flats and flat mix after construction if they make use of MIC. Developers have to balance different factors before they choose a kind of construction technology. But for environment, time, worker safety, and efficiency, I think MIC is worth considering if we can improve on these areas. As for the arrangements of reusing prefabricated units of MIC, I will ask the Permanent Secretary to talk about that. We do have a set of guidelines. For the colleagues of the Works Department on the usage of MIC, we have accumulated some experience over the past years. There are some circumstances under which it's more suitable for the MIC units to be reused, and we will be updating the guidelines on what kind of projects can make use of reused prefabricated units of MIC. For permanent premises, we will not be considering reusing of MIC units. For temporary facilities, the reuse rates of prefabricated units is higher. Of course, we will be changing the sewage and drainage. There are some isolation facilities that are being demolished, and we will be reusing the prefabricated units there. we have, say, some temporary offices at construction sites. We may be reusing the MIC units to construct those temporary offices. Next, Mr. Louis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. This paper is on MIC and BIM. I would like to talk about the views of the private sector on MIC and BIM. For BIM, Radar recently commit the usage of BIM and its full adoption in 2029. Some members have concern, but overall, we're trying to strive for the full adoption by 2029. The reason why private developers tend not to use MIC is because of the size of the construction site and the rapid change in the market. But there's one point that I would like to raise. There is GFA concession for the adoption of BIM. But such kind of a concession is not that incentivizing, because if we use MIC, I think that you're talking about MIC, right? Well, because the walls of MIC units will be thicker, of course, the engineers would make the relevant calculations. As far as I understand, the incentives are not applicable to old land lease because there is no GFA concession provisions in old leases, and the incentives were not applied to them. When the administration is promoting the usage of MIC, please do not ignore the old leases. The MIC and BIM ideas were implemented under Construction 2.0. Apart from advocating for innovation and professionalism, you said that you want to promote revitalization. I wonder what is the progress in terms of revitalizing the sector? Secretary, thank you. I would like to thank the member for telling us that the private sector actually supports the MIC and BIM. As mentioned, we have a GFA concession of 10% for the adoption of MIC, and the old leases do not enjoy the same concession. We will be aligning the incentives so that they apply to old leases as well. As for revitalization of the sector, in recent years, we focus on innovation and adoption of innovation and technology because young people like INT we have successfully recruited some young people to join the sector as frontline officers or middle management. MIC is one of the facilitator. Last, Mr. Lau Kwok-fon for the second round. 3 minutes, please. Thank you, Chairman. I have a simple question. Just now, the Chairman and other members also talked about this. 15 hectares is not a large piece of land. But we need land to store, for example, materials, concrete, prefabricated steel. With the resumption of land, we are having fewer and fewer sites for storage. When the government identified land for MIC, well, do we actually need land for MIC here? That's not necessarily the case. For concrete, there is a requirements on the distance between the storage space and the construction site. I hope that the government will attach importance to that. I support the idea of MIC, and I think that the government should invest on innovation and technology. For the high-strength steel, for the double-arch steel design of the crossbay link, that's one of the research results of the Polytechnic University. I think that the government should support such kind of an R&D outcome and invest in the research. I'm not really sure about the development of MIC into an industry. The government said that they have engaged a university to conduct a study. But I think that the government should decide on themselves whether it's worthwhile to develop MIC into an industry. If you think that is profit-making, that is why you invest in it. Well, there are a lot of industries that are worth investing then in Hong Kong. You should not just rely on the decision of the university. I support the establishment of the Building Testing and Research Institute. This will help lower the construction costs. For materials and steel, sometimes they're certified for construction site A, and then now they have to go through another certification process when we want to apply the same materials in another construction site. I hope that the specifications can be standardized. So as long as the materials are approved, then it can be used in all construction sites in Hong Kong. That's my comment. That's a comment? Secretary, perhaps you can give a brief reply. Chairman. We do not just reserve for land for the MIC, but also we need to cater to the needs of concrete factories and brownfield operators. We will be providing for a multi-story building for modern industries. For Kutong North, we have industrial sites dedicated for multi-story buildings for modern industries in Fanlin North as well. For the operation of the Building Testing and Research Institute, we note the members' view, and it will be established within the year. Thank you, Secretary, Permanent Secretary, and government officials. Now we conclude the discussion of this item. Of course, we support the development of advanced construction technologies to enhance productivity and lower the construction cost. Prefabrication will facilitate construction site safety. Thank you, everyone. Now we move on to the next agenda item. Item 4, Public Works Program, item number 7870CL, Site Formation and Infrastructure Works for Public Housing Development at Ngau Chi Wan Village, Wong Tai Sin. The paper number has been set out on the agenda. Would the relevant government officials please enter?
This agenda item involves a funding proposal in accordance with paragraph 83A of the Rules of Procedure. If members would like to speak in an item in which they have a pecuniary interest, please declare the nature of your interest before you speak. If members would like to speak on this item, please press the button to request to speak. Thank you. Welcome officials, Permanent Secretary Ms. Doris Ho, please give us opening remarks, and then we will go through the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Chairman. Today we are here to brief you on the site formation and infrastructure works for public housing development in Ngau Chi Wan Village, Wong Tai Sin. I will give you some background information about this project, then the CEDD will brief you on the specifics of the project. Members may know that Ngau Chi Wan Village is one of the 3 urban squatter areas that we proposed for redevelopment. We want to build public housing in convenient urban areas. Apart from Ngau Chi Wan Village, the other 2 urban squatter areas are Cha Kwa Ling Village and Chok Yun United Village. These 2 projects have already started. For Cha Kwa Ling Village, last year we came to the Finance Committee and we sought the funding. Regarding Chok Yun United Village, it's smaller in scale, so we can use the Public Works Capital Fund, the lump sum grant, the block grant. Regarding Ngau Chi Wan Village, it's 2.5 hectares. It can provide housing of 2,700 units. The CEDD will be responsible for site formation as well as public infrastructures, including road and so on. Then the piece of land will be given to the Housing Society for the Housing Authority for follow-up, including the provision of social facilities. The town planning procedures have already been completed. Some land have already been given back to the government. The Lands Department is responsible for removal allowances or rehousing allowances. These pieces of land will be given by the Lands Department to the CEDD for construction. For phase 1, we estimate in 2026 it will be completed. Then the land can be given to the Hong Kong Housing Authority to build 1,200 units out of a total of 2,700 units. In Q4 of 2031, there will be the first population intake. For phase 2, after site formation, it is estimated that it will be given to the Hong Kong Housing Authority in 2028, and the remaining 1,500 units will be built. In Q1 2033, there will be the population intake. In addition to housing developments, through this project, we'd like to preserve cultural heritage that is worth preserving. In a moment, the CEDD will also give you some more information about cultural heritage. We will preserve manufacturing in situ. The entire project cost is estimated to be $106.3 million. In this redevelopment project, we'd like to increase housing supply on the first hand. On the second hand, through rehousing allowances, we'd like to improve the living conditions of residents in squatter areas. We'd like to solicit the support of members. Then, in the next stage, we will bring up this item in the PWSC. I now give the floor to the CEDD to give members some more information about the project. The CEDD, please. Thank you, Chairman. This project is to upgrade PWP Item number 7870CL to Category A in order to take forward the proposed public housing development in Ngau Chi Wan Village, Wong Tai Sin. These are the latest development of the 3 urban squatter areas. In June, we obtained funding for Chak Kwan Ling Village and started the first phase of the project, the construction. Regarding Chok Yun United Village, it is taken forward in a Category D project. In December last year, the first phase was completed and land has been given to the Hong Kong Housing Authority. We're working on the Ngau Chi Wan Village development project. The yellow area is the area for site formation, 2.7 hectares in total. 1.7 hectares will be for public housing development, whereas the remaining areas are for roadworks as well as social facilities. There are also ancillary facilities including sewerage, water supply, drain, and so on. They are aimed at providing infrastructures to the public. The areas in gray are road improvement works, including Hamler Hill Road roundabout and Longcheng Road near Long Chi Path. Regarding Ngau Chi Wan Village development project, that is the area in orange. It's a Grade 3 historic building that is Manfaat Nunnery. We will preserve it in situ, and the Housing Authority will revitalize it. In Hammer Hill roundabout, there are road improvement works. In our consultation period, we have received feedback and we have also observed the road conditions. A pavement will be turned into a road or a lane, so vehicles do not have to go through the roundabout in order to go to Longcheng Road. That means it will be turned into a carriageway. After resumption of part of the land, we'll start with the retrofitting of a new minibus station. It will be moved backwards, so the eastbound carriageway near Long Chi Path will be extended as a result. We have held public consultation and a briefing session. We have also consulted the District Council in Wong Tai Sin. We have their support. In November 2022, there was a gazette and we received one objection. After our explanation, the objection was withdrawn without any condition. The authorization notice took place in March 2023. Regarding the proposed amendments to the outline zoning plan, if all things are smooth, we expect that we can commence the project in mid-2024, and there will be phased completion from 2026 to 2028. The capital cost is $106.3 million. If we have the members' support, we will go to the PWSC and the Finance Committee for funding application. This is the introduction to the project. Thank you, Chairman. 4 members have pressed the button to request to speak. Dr. Chow Meng Kong, Mr. Andrew Lam, Edward Lau, Perry Yu. 4 minutes, question and answer included. Dr. Chow, please. Thank you, Chairman. The Ngau Chi Wan Village project is very convenient. It's near Choi Hong MTR station. It's also near New Clearwater Bay Road. It is the main thoroughfare leading to Kwun Tong, as well as other districts such as Sai Kung, Kowloon Bay, and so on. We need to think long and hard about it, as it would affect the traffic in Kowloon East. You mentioned Manfaat Nunnery, and if I remember correctly, near 8 Clearwater Bay Road, there's a residential care home for the elderly. If we can sort out all the matters, then we can facilitate footfall, vehicle flow, and so on. Regarding rehousing arrangements, the paper does not mention this point. The Lands Department has already replied. 580 households have been, will be affected. Only 14%, that is 80, have registered. About 80% have not finished the registration procedures. Can the administration let us know the reasons why? Like Ngau Chi Wan Village, much of the rehousing is needed. How can we prevent toys removal, or residents will have to be sent to different areas? How can we better the process? Permanent Secretary, please. Thank you, Chairman. A moment later, the CEDD will give you more information about traffic that is in the course of the construction works. How can we minimize the impact on nearby traffic? I'll first speak on social facilities. The redevelopment project provides us with a good opportunity to improve the nearby facilities. So we'll take this opportunity to earmark 5% of the gross floor area for social welfare facilities, including child centers, as well as residential care homes for the elderly and other facilities like centers for the elderly. We will also build a community hall, kindergarten, open space, we will earmark a suitable amount of open space according to the number of population in the locality. Member mentioned and other residential care home for the elderly. That is St. Joseph Home for the Aged. That's a private development. It's being built right now. If I remember correctly, in 2028 to 29, it will be ready. Regarding rehousing compensations, indeed, 580 households for the first phase. 260 will be affected out of a total of 580. The 260 households need to be rehoused in the first phase. They will have to move out in 2024 or 2025. We are getting a hold of these households to vet their eligibility. The Lands Department is aware that they will be the first batch to move out, so in the coming few months they will be in touch with them. Regarding rehousing options, we'd like to give members peace of mind. We have taken stock of our experience with Ngau Chi Wan Village. About 30 households have already been rehoused. They can be rehoused in flats in Kwun Tong with the support of the Housing Society. So we'd like to support these residents. We want to rehouse them in areas that they'd like to be rehoused in, or at least urban areas. CEDD, Mr. Chen.
多謝議員提。
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Member, for the question. Regarding the traffic arrangement, we have two major road improvement works on Hammer Hill Road and Longcheng Road. For the temporary traffic arrangement, we will implement it and phase the road improvement works in order not to affect the traffic flow. We will consult the Transport Department and the police. Before we implement temporary traffic arrangement, we will talk to them to make sure that the existing traffic flow will not be affected. And we will be conducting or implementing temporary traffic arrangement during non-peak hours. For Longcheng Road, some bus stops and public light bus stops will be relocated. We will make sure that the public light bus and bus services will not be affected. During non-peak hours, we will be putting in place side gantry. If we need to relocate some of the traffic lights, we will do it during non-peak hours to make sure that the traffic will not be affected. Next, Mr. Andrew Lam, Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. I have two questions. First, I have to commend the administration because you are preparing for a temporary traffic arrangement, and I think that this is a good move. For the schedule of the improvement works, you have made use of the minor works program to take forward the traffic improvement works. So I wonder if the traffic improvement works will be taking place before the construction of the housing. I would like to clarify some of the figures. Just now, the secretary or the permanent secretary said that 580 households will be affected, but there are 950 temporary structures that are mostly squatter structures that will be demolished. And there are some 30 business undertakings that will be affected. Though does that mean that some owners of temporary structures will not be benefited from the rehousing arrangement? How many of these affected households will opt for dedicated rehousing estates of the housing society, and how many will go for the public housing under the housing authority? Permanent Secretary. Well, I will ask Mr. Chen to talk about what kind of contracts is used for the road improvement works. Let me talk about the rehousing arrangement. 580 households and 30 business undertakings will be affected. We have 950 temporary structures because some structures are vacant and some residents may occupy more than one temporary structures. As for the rehousing arrangement, for eligible households, if they pass the means test, they can choose to go for the public housing under housing authority. If they don't want to go through means tested arrangements, then they can go for the housing society's housing. But the earliest projects under the housing society will only be implemented and completed in 2029. So affected households can either choose the public housing under housing society or housing authority nearby. I'm not sure about the situation with the Ngau Chi Wan Village. We do have figures with Charcoal Lane Village. It seems that affected households prefer public rental housing under public or housing authority. But some of them choose the dedicated rehousing estates of the housing society. As I mentioned, the dedicated rehousing estates can only be completed in 2026. So affected households can either choose to stay at the housing under housing authority or the dedicated rehousing estates under housing society. Deputy Project Manager, Mr. Chan from the CEDD, please. For the road improvement works at Hammer Hill Road, we have considered the views of the residents and the stakeholders. That is why we made use of minor works contract to take forward the work. As for the improvement works at Longcheng Road, relocation of public light bus stop is involved, and it has to be moved from the south to the north, and that is why we have to provide for a lay-by. And some private land will be encroached. We can only create the lay-by after second phase of the land resumption. For the Longchang Road improvement works, it will only start in 2026. And we will tender for it together with the site formation project. So by the end of this year, we will tender for the Longchang Road and the site formation works together. So the tender would be of a larger scale. Next, Mr. Lau Kwok Fan. Thank you, Chairman. I don't have much comment regarding this site formation and capital works project. I would like to ask about rehousing and compensation. Because I have some comments, I'm sure that the Permanent Secretary know that I've been following up on rehousing and compensation, and I've handled a lot of different cases. I know that there was a dedicated rehousing estate in Kai Tak for Pak War Road in Northwest New Territories, Hong Shi Kyu Ha Chun, rehousing units. There's often gap between the land resumption process and the rehousing date. I've been advocating for this non-means tested and means tested rehousing option. For a means tested rehousing option that is provided by the Hong Kong's Housing Authority, but it seems that the standards adopted by different groups of government officials are different, and they adopt different lines to take for different projects. As there is a lag between the land resumption and the provision of dedicated rehousing estates, sometimes people go for a non-means tested rehousing option. So people can either opt for dedicated rehousing estates or means-tested rehousing option. Second, regarding compensation, there is an increase in terms of the compensation going from $600,000 to $1.2 million in 2018. Some squatters are of two-story, and when the government conducted pre-clearance survey, they did not count the number of floors or take stock of the size. And as a result, the compensation was not fair. Permanent Secretary, thank you for your two questions regarding Ngau Chi Wan Village situation. The affected households involved have to move out in two different phases. As mentioned, they have to either move out by end of this year or early next year. For the second phase, that will take place in end 2025. So by end 2025, all of the affected households will have to move out. And by then, the dedicated rehousing estates of Kai Tak have not been completed. For the 580 eligible households, I believe that they will have to make use of our transitional arrangements. To answer your second question, Unless there is a seamless transition, if the dedicated rehousing estates is not completed by the time that the people have to move out, we have to make use of the public rental housing of the housing authority and housing society to rehouse the affected household. For people who opt for housing authority housing, they don't have to go through means tests. You said that sometimes information is not clear. Well, please let us know which project you're referring to. Perhaps we can talk to the relevant department. Regarding the size of the squatters or temporary structures, I am aware of this issue, and you've told me about that earlier. After all, we're making use of public money to make compensation. We need sufficient evidence to substantiate the compensation. I think that the Lands Department is willing to work out some solutions with the households if they cannot agree on the amount of compensation. Next, Mr. Yeo Pak Len. Thank you, Chairman. I'm concerned about the appropriate rehousing and compensation of affected households. I would also like to ask about the road improvement works. For people to go from Longchang Road to Kwun Tong, there was a bridge leading to Choi Hong and Clearwater Bay. This junction has always been a problem for Kowloon East residents. For the relocation of the public light butts, I hope that the traffic flow of the district will not be affected by it. Second, I would also like to ask about the heritage. I know that the government will retain and revitalize the Man Fat Nunnery, rated at Grade 3 historic building. I support that. Now the government will be, the housing society will be responsible for the preservation and revitalization. Do we have any heritage that has not been rated in the district with historical significance? Can't we retain them? So that we can retain some of the history of the district and keep the memories of the villagers there. Thank you. Permanent Secretary. Thank you for 2 questions. I will ask the CEDD to talk about the relocation of the public light bus terminus. We want to improve the traffic situation by relocating the public light bus terminus. On the Man Fat Nunnery, while it's rated as a Grade 3 historic building, the Housing Society will retain it in situ, or the Housing Society will be retaining it in situ. Apart from serving as a buffer zone, my apologies. The design of the public housing near the Man Fat Nunnery will complement with it. As for what the Housing Society have in mind to revitalize Man Fat Nunnery, well, they have this preliminary idea that, well, perhaps the Man Fat Nunnery should be redeveloped into a cafe. some of the buildings have not been rated. I wonder if the ECEDD can go to a backup slide where they brought a group of architects to look at the houses at the village, because in the second phase development area, they discover that there was a building where the entire Ngau Chi Wan Village started. And we will be conducting archaeological works there, and we will see if we can uncover any heritage underground. And we will conduct such investigation prior to the construction work. And there were some structures that should be preserved. And that is why we will be cautious when we demolish the buildings, and we will retain some of the structures and hand them over to the housing society to see how we can integrate such materials into the future design.
係啊，陳生。
Mr. Chan from the CEDD, thank you. We have already conducted a traffic impact assessment, whether during or after the construction phase. After the population of the housing society project, there wouldn't be any negative impact on traffic. Instead, there will be improvement to Hammerhill Road. Regarding Longcheng Road, in the entire planning and consideration, we understand some residents take minibus to Sai Kung. We are moving it from south to north. To walk to the new minibus station, it's about 50 to 60 meters away, some 1 minute only. We believe the impact will be minimal. All right, myself, we are talking about $106.3 million, not a significant amount, but the construction time period is quite long. In 2026, the first batch of land will be given to the Housing Authority. In the second phase, 1,500 units will be, the land will be given to the Housing Society to build 1,500 units. Of course, the earlier you can give the land to the HA or the HS, the better. Why is it the period will be quite long? Thank you, Chairman. Your observation is right. Indeed, there aren't many projects, or there aren't many construction works. The highest and the lowest structure is just 6 meters different. The CEDD can explain why the first phase will take 1 year. Just now we mentioned the archaeological tours, hence longer time. Mr. Chan from the CEDD, please. Let's first start with phase 1. It's to the north of the construction site. We need to carry out some procedures. There are some factories which polluted the environment. There are also car maintenance workshops. We believe there are pollutants over there. In relation to private land, we may not be able to work on the private land right away. But we have started with the investigation on government land already. There are heavy metals. In accordance with the requirements of the EPD, we need to carry out some procedures to cleanse the land concerned. We will take samples of soil or the ground to decide on the scope. Usually we mix the concrete with the soil to make sure there wouldn't be any further pollution. We believe it will take 1 year or so. We estimate in early 2025 we will have started the project, and in 2026, after a year's time, we can give the project to the Housing Society. Regarding site formation, it will take place in the south of the project area. According to the Heritage Impact Assessment HIA, the Housing Society needs to work on a brief. That is, it needs to work on the archaeological side in order to complete the procedures in clearing the squatter structures, especially when it comes to the foundation of the structures. We can carry out large-scale procedures. We need to conduct excavation works using smaller machines, so it will take some 2 years. But in future tendering exercise, in our tender documents, we will request the tender bidder to expedite the works. If they can expedite the works, in the course of the tender, we will give them bonus marks. This will incentivize them to work faster and complete the project faster so that it could be given to the housing societies faster. $100 million or so, and it won't be completed until 2028. Indeed, that's quite long. Mr. Chen mentioned some problems. I look forward to the fact that these problems can be resolved as soon as possible. If we can finish it earlier, of course, it's the best. Mr. Louis Long, followed by Mr. Edward Lau in the second round. If no more members would like to speak, we'll probably finish the meeting by 10:30. In case the discussion is not over yet, I will extend the meeting. Mr. Louis Long. Thank you, Chairman. I agree with you, Chairman. 106.3 million dollars. Yes, we need to compress the timeline. What concerns me is that after the completion of site formation work and infrastructure works, you will give the site to the Housing Society. In Annex 3 of the papers, there are some key development parameters. I know at present the Housing Society does not have any overall planning. It only have sketchy development parameters like 3 blocks of domestic blocks, 7.5 domestic plot ratio, and so on. Let's take a look at the construction site. It's about 2.2 hectares large. It's neither large nor small. But if we can do better in planning, what I mean is that there are 3 domestic blocks in total. There are also some GIC facilities. For example, there are community halls, kindergartens, so on and so forth. Are these GIC facilities freestanding structures? Or actually they are on the podium of a complex when you can plan from scratch? you can provide open space out of the 2.2 hectares of land. That is the total site area. We'll need to wait until the detailed design, but right now we can make good use of 2.2 hectares of land. If it is a freestanding structure, the plot ratio could be higher according to the OZP. That's my observation. $100 million, it's not a large amount for a public works project. It's not a blanket approval. We'll still have to wait for the decision in the PWSC. Secretary, a permanent secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I agree with Chairman and member as well. We will try to compress the timeline of the construction of the project. Member mentioned 2.2 hectares of land. Members would like us to make good use of the land in order to provide public housing development as well as social facilities, and about 5% of the social welfare facilities. Right now, the Housing Society does not have any detailed design. Just now, you have seen some pictures, but they are only our preliminary planning. We can relate members' views to the Housing Society. In the past, GIC facilities will be integrated with residential floors. Probably sometimes residential areas are in the same complex but are above the GIC facilities. In the next stage of the design, the Housing Society will further work on it. Second round, Mr. Edward Lau, 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. With dedicated rehousing estates, the permanent secretary told me that they could still use the non-means test for people to get a unit from the housing authority. Honestly, a dedicated rehousing estate DRE may not have a household that is suitable for them. Even if they are going to buy a property or rent a property, probably they can find suitable houses from the Housing Society. Bat Wong Road is about to be ready. When DRE is available, one cannot obtain a flat from the housing authority through a non-means test option. If that is the case, I'd like to have it available again. I'm a little bit worried that DRE may not 100% be suitable for the needs of all the people. 2 to 3 people households, 3 to 4 households, there are restrictions. Permanent Secretary. Thank you, member, for your comment. The policy is already there. We allow the people affected to go through the non-means tested rehousing option. That's also our arrangement. When the Housing Society works on the DRE, when they have houses, then the transitional arrangements will be over. That's an internal agreement between the administration and the housing authority. You said not all people would like to go to DRE. Yes, we understand that. But after all, we have a policy arrangement. It's quite difficult to change the policy all of a sudden right now. What we need to improve is the DRE. Member mentioned, for example, the size of the flats, the configuration or specification of the flat. Are they in line with the needs of the people affected? The policy should be extended, so to speak. Patwo Road has already started, but what about Kutong housing? No, not yet. Hasn't started yet. So I think there is indeed ambiguity in the policy. So I'd like to see the policies being extended to give citizens a better arrangement. Just now, as I heard, no members are against the project. It's about the site formation and infrastructures in order to provide housing through the housing society. So we support the administration to discuss this project in the PWSC. Let's wrap up this item. Next agenda item, any other business? I don't have AOB. If members have no AOB, meeting adjourned. Thank you.